The girl who became a wounded woman. Have you ever wondered why you're always attracted to the same types of people who hurt you? Maybe the answer lies in your childhood, and Freud already knew this over 100 years ago. Before we dive deep into this psychological journey, make sure to subscribe if you want to understand your mind and explore what Freud uncovered. Hit that bell icon, because today we're talking about something that might change how you see your relationships forever. Every wounded woman was once an ignored little girl. Let me paint you a picture. There's a little girl sitting at the kitchen table, desperately trying to get her father's attention. Maybe he's buried in his newspaper. Maybe he's always working, or maybe he's just emotionally unavailable. She tries harder, she draws him pictures, she tells him stories, she even acts out just to get noticed, but nothing works. Years later, this same little girl is now a grown woman. And guess what? She's still sitting at that kitchen table, metaphorically speaking. Only now, instead of trying to get her father's attention, she's chasing after emotionally unavailable partners who give her just enough crumbs to keep her hoping, but never enough to feel truly loved. Maybe this story sounds more familiar than you'd like to admit.
The original wound. Freud understood something revolutionary about human psychology. Our earliest emotional experiences become the blueprint for all our future relationships. He called this the foundation of our unconscious mind, that hidden part of ourselves that drives 90% of our behavior without us even realizing it. Think of your unconscious mind like the backstage of a theater. You see the performance on stage, your conscious thoughts and actions, but behind the curtains, there's a whole crew of childhood experiences directing the show. When Freud studied his patients, he discovered that many of their adult struggles traced back to what he called the oral phase of development, roughly the first 18 months of life. This isn't just about feeding. It's about the fundamental question every baby asks: am I safe? Am I loved? Am I worth caring for? If a child experiences rejection, abandonment, or emotional neglect during these crucial early years, it creates what we can think of as a love wound. The child's developing psyche essentially learns love is scarce, I have to fight for it, and maybe, just maybe, I'm not worthy of it. But here's the thing Freud discovered that's absolutely crucial. The child doesn't just accept this wound and move on. No, the unconscious mind has a different plan. It says, we're going to keep trying until we get it right. The unconscious pattern. This brings us to one of Freud's most important discoveries, the repetition compulsion. It's the unconscious drive to recreate familiar emotional situations, even when they're painful, in an attempt to finally fix them. Imagine your unconscious mind like a detective that never gives up on a case. It keeps returning to the scene of the crime, looking for clues, hoping this time it can solve the mystery of why love felt so conditional, so hard to earn. So the little girl who couldn't get her father's consistent love grows up unconsciously attracted to men who are emotionally distant, inconsistent, or unavailable. Her unconscious reasoning goes something like this: if I can make this unavailable man love me completely, then I'll finally prove I was worthy of love all along. It's like she's trying to go back in time and rewrite her childhood story, but she keeps casting the same type of person in the leading role. Freud called this transference. We unconsciously transfer our early relationship patterns onto new people. The emotionally distant partner becomes a stand-in for the unavailable parent. And every time we try to win their love, we're really trying to win our parents' love retroactively. But here's the cruel irony. We tend to choose people who can't give us what we need because, unconsciously, that feels familiar. And familiar, even when it's painful, feels like home.
Signs of the wounded girl. So, how do you know if you're still carrying that wounded little girl inside you? Let's look at some patterns that Freud would immediately recognize. First, you give too much, too fast. The wounded girl learned early that love was conditional. You had to earn it through performance, through being good enough, through meeting other people's needs. So you find yourself overgiving in relationships, trying to prove your worth before the other person even asks for it. Second, you accept less because you believe it's what you deserve. Deep down, that little girl who couldn't get consistent love concluded there must be something wrong with her. So you find yourself grateful for scraps of affection that you would never accept for a friend. Third, you become anxious and seek validation at any cost. When someone starts pulling away, you panic. Not because you necessarily love this specific person so much, but because it triggers that original abandonment wound. Your nervous system goes into overdrive, just like it did when you were small and felt your caregiver's love slipping away. Fourth, you're attracted to emotional unavailability. This one is particularly painful to recognize. Available, consistent love actually feels uncomfortable because it doesn't match your internal template for what love should feel like. Think about it. If your unconscious mind learned that love involves chasing, proving yourself, and never quite feeling secure, then a healthy, stable relationship might actually trigger anxiety. It doesn't feel like real love because it's missing the familiar elements of struggle and uncertainty. Fifth, you find yourself in the same relationship over and over, just with different people. The faces change, but the emotional dynamics remain eerily similar. You keep wondering, why does this keep happening to me? But Freud would say it's not happening to you, it's happening through you, driven by unconscious patterns seeking resolution. Freud's solution. Now here's the good news, and it's something Freud was passionate about. These patterns can be changed, but first they have to be brought from the unconscious into the conscious mind. Freud believed that the path to freedom lies in what he called making the unconscious conscious. It's like turning on the lights in that backstage area of your mind and finally seeing who's really directing the show. The process starts with recognition. You have to be willing to look at your patterns honestly, without judgment, not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself. That little girl inside you wasn't wrong to want love. She just learned some survival strategies that aren't serving the adult you anymore. Freud would suggest what he called free association, allowing your mind to wander and make connections between your current relationship patterns and your earliest experiences. When you feel that familiar anxiety in a relationship, instead of just reacting, pause and ask, when did I first feel this way? What is this feeling trying to protect me from? Dreams were another tool Freud valued highly. He called them the royal road to the unconscious. Your dreams might be showing you symbolic representations of these early wounds and patterns. Pay attention to recurring themes or feelings in your dreams. They might be giving you clues about what your unconscious mind is trying to work through. But perhaps most importantly, Freud believed in the healing power of a therapeutic relationship, whether formal therapy or simply deep, honest conversations with trusted people. In a healthy relationship dynamic, you can start to experience what consistent, unconditional care feels like, which helps rewire those early templates. The path forward. Here's what Freud understood that was revolutionary for his time. You're not doomed to repeat these patterns forever. The unconscious mind that created them is the same mind that can change them, but only when it's working with consciousness, not against it. The first step is compassion. For that little girl inside you, she developed these patterns for good reasons. They were her way of trying to survive in an environment that didn't meet her emotional needs. These patterns were adaptive then,
even if they're causing problems now. The second step is recognizing that you're no longer that powerless little girl. You have choices now that you didn't have then. You can choose partners who are emotionally available. You can choose to communicate your needs directly instead of hoping someone will guess them. You can leave situations that consistently make you feel unworthy. But here's the tricky part, and Freud knew this. Making healthier choices will feel uncomfortable at first. Your unconscious mind will try to pull you back toward familiar patterns, because remember, it's trying to solve that old childhood puzzle. This is where persistence and self-awareness become crucial. Every time you catch yourself falling into old patterns, it's an opportunity for growth.
Instead of judging yourself, get curious. What was triggered? What need are you trying to meet? How can you meet that need in a healthier way? Transformation and hope. Freud had a beautiful way of describing this process. He said we move from being hysterically miserable to being ordinarily unhappy. Now, that might not sound very inspiring, but what he meant was profound. When we're driven by unconscious patterns, we experience dramatic emotional ups and downs that feel completely out of our control. But when we bring these patterns into consciousness, we gain the power of choice. We might still experience sadness, disappointment, or loneliness sometimes. That's just part of being human. But we're no longer at the mercy of unconscious forces that keep us trapped in cycles of pain. You might start noticing that you're attracted to different types of people, ones who can actually see you, value you, and show up consistently. This might feel strange at first, but it's your psyche healing and updating its template for what love looks like. You might find that you can tolerate being alone without panic because you're no longer desperately trying to fill a childhood void through another person. You start to develop what psychologists call secure attachment, the ability to be intimate without losing yourself, and to be independent without shutting others out. Most importantly, you might discover that the love you were searching for all along wasn't actually missing. It was just buried under layers of protective strategies that no longer serve you. Maybe you don't have to be that little girl begging for love anymore. Maybe today you can choose to be the woman who recognizes her own worth first. Freud showed us that our past doesn't have to be our prison. Yes, those early experiences shaped you, but they don't have to define you forever. Every moment of awareness is a step toward freedom. Your relationships can be different. Your patterns can change. That wounded little girl inside you can finally receive the understanding and compassion she always needed. And surprisingly, you're the one who can give it to her. So what resonated with you in this video? Can you see any of these patterns in your own relationships? Remember, recognizing them isn't about judgment, it's about liberation. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into the brilliant mind of Freud and what he can teach us about understanding ourselves. Until next time, be kind to that little girl inside you. She's been doing her best with the tools she had.